Hi, this is Majin. Here's my comic pulls for December 5th, 2017. Or, sorry, December 6th, 2017. And this is probably one of my biggest pulls of ever. We have, starting off, Batman number 36. Now, this, I'm kind of torn with this because this is, actually, it's a really well-written story. Because it's basically, Batman and Catwoman and then Lois and Superman, and they're talking about the engagement. Lois is like, you should call Bruce, and Bruce is like, and Catwoman's like, you should call, and then both of those guys refuse to call. Superman's like, well, obviously we're not as good of friends as I thought we were. He's sounding like a little, bitter party of one type thing, because he knows, but yet his good friend won't tell him, and. My problem, though, stems from we've seen this story before. And not only have we seen this before, we've seen it the same format, and we've seen everything, just recently. Because what happens is you have two stories going at the same time. One is the Batman, one is Superman. They're saying the exact opposite of each other. He's been alone, he saw his parents die, and then, Bruce is like, well, he's living out on the farm, he's an alien, he's trying to do, how does he fit in? And, it's like the exact mirror opposite, like, to show us, hey, these two people are night and day, again. And, we saw this with Batman and Catwoman, the exact same formula. And then, this comparison between Batman and Superman, we've seen time and time again. And it reaches a point where you just know where the story's going to go. They're both working on a case from opposite directions, opposite sides. And so they're going to meet in the middle again. Eventually they're going to meet. And, while the way they meet is kind of funny, it's kind of like, kind of awkward, and you have Lois basically breaking the ice, so to speak. And even like you have a part where Lois is like going, dude, she's Catwoman. She knows who you are. And then, so I don't know why you have this hang up, because she's a supervillain and, you don't want your secret identity out. Who can't figure this out? You write about Superman all the time and you look like him, but with glasses. And then Catwoman's like, dude, to Batman, I figured it out, a long time ago. It's not brain surgery. So it's like, there's like I said, there's little good parts, but then again, it's just, I've read the story again and again and again, and it's like, I just wonder, like, how many more ways are they going to dress this up? It's like, I don't know. To me, I think part of my problem is, the King's he's a good writer. So I just want something unique. Something to, like a twist. Something to make me go, oh, you really thought this out better. The way this is plotted, it's like, okay, how many pages, how many panels, okay, Bruce says this, Clark says this, okay, how many more comparisons do we need? 8, okay, 8 more, okay, and they sit down and talk about it, they come up with 8. It's like, but you're going to see everywhere, 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10, fantastic writing, and they're never going to mention, like they just read the story a few months ago with Batman and Catwoman, and how they did the comparison between the two, and how many times have we read this comparison? This is all they're going to go. They all want jobs at DC, so they're never going to say anything negative about it. But on the flip side, it's well written. But let's be honest. You can take the prettiest shit possible that doesn't stink, but it's still going to be shit, and that's what that is. It's shined up really nice, but it's an old story, shined up a little bit different. All right. Superman number 36. Alright, I wasn't going to buy this, but look at my pull list, right? And I flipped through this, and I just saw fighting. I was like, I got excited. You know what I mean? It was like, I mean, just imagine, you have a slow day, and then you take like a whole bottle of Viagra, and you're just like, oh my god, this is like the greatest thing. And then I read it, and I was just thoroughly disappointed by the end. The fighting was just, it was, to me, it was basically just the writer going, okay, fight, draw a picture of fight, and the fight. And there's no rhyme or reason to any of this stuff. It's, well, Lois, look at Lois running to Superman. She needs protection. And Lois like, I don't need no protection. I am a martial artist supreme. It's... I'm like, please. She's a reporter. How... It just... I just don't know. I just get more and more frustrated with this nonsense. And it's like, hey, Superman, we don't understand the concept of mercy here, but we'll certainly give it the old Boy Scout try. And I'm just like, oh my god, please stop. Please stop. I don't know. There's just... I just weep because, I expect more and I expect better, and I came from like more of a golden age of writing and storytelling. Like it would take, like nobody would write for the trades. It was just tell stories. It didn't matter how long it took to tell the story, just tell the story and make sure the story was good. And, you might not agree with everything because, Marvel and DC both put out a whole lot of garbage still. But when it was working, it worked, and it worked beautifully. And now, the art style has improved immensely, except for in most of Marvel books, because the quality of art is just drastically dropped because they don't hire good, capable artists, because the artists are just horrible, and they're also hiring subpar writers at times too, and people they're hiring people who just don't deserve to they don't deserve to have a blog. If you look at the numbers, there's a whole bunch of Marvel titles that are selling like under 8,000 copies, and if you really think about that for a second, 8,000. If a book is, let's say, $3.99 and $4.99, they're not really making much money on those books because you figure Diamond's going to take their cut, the store's taking their cut, and you're left with not really pennies, but you're not left with a huge pot of the gold anymore. And even then, it's like, you have to pay for overhead, you have to pay for lights, insurance, you have to pay the phone bills and everything else. So these people who are, they call themselves writers and artists that are selling less than 8,000 books are making probably hundreds of dollars, an issue, because there's just no way they're making serious money. And it's just... everything needs to be just burned. You know what I mean? It needs a cleansing. People just... Marvel... I mean, DC is in a slightly better shape. But they still have some issues that they need to work out. When you look at Justice League, why isn't that in the top 10? I get why the Batman, Lobo, Atom isn't in the top 10, but when you have Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, that's a top 10 book. There's no excuse for it not to be top 10 every month. And when you also look at the top 10, it's just Batman. It's like DC's plan is just basically make as many Batman books as they possibly can, so that way they can fill the top 10. And that's just sad. I get Superman. Not everybody likes the Boy Scout, but still, if with the right writer, I guarantee you Superman could be the most exciting and the most amazing book ever written with the right combination of people. And I know you can say that with every other book, but I firmly believe Superman is the one book that should be at that level. And it's kind of like, to me, what it looks like is somebody is going up a large flight of stairs, and let's say there's 100 flights, and they go, 4 flights is good enough. I'm okay with 4 flights because it's safe. I'm not challenging myself. I'm not doing anything, too out of the box. And even when I say out of the box, I don't mean create something revolutionary. It's just make it exciting. Don't give us the same, Lex Luthor again, Lex Luthor again, Lex Luthor again. Oh boy, here comes Zod again and again. And it's not even they make Zod exciting. It's just, here's Zod. And then it's just boring. It could because they write for the trade. There's no build up. It's just as it should be building up, it's over. And that's part of the problem. And same with Marvel. Marvel has one of the greatest movie franchises, the Avengers. Why isn't that in the top 10? You have Mark Waid writing it. Mark Waid, even though I think his writing is horrible now, why isn't that book still in the top 10? When you have that supposedly of a good of a writer. It's like, if I was Mark Waid, I would be ashamed of myself for collecting a paycheck for writing a book that bad. Spider-Man's pretty much the only thing that saves him, but even then, Spider-Man's not always in the top 10, which is like, why isn't it? You have the X-Men. Why isn't the X-Men in the top 10? Wolverine. Wolverine, they killed him. It's just like ridiculous. Hulk is another one. Hulk, for those of you who may not even remember, Peter David and McFarlane and those guys had an amazing run on the Hulk. They did some controversial things, like they made the Hulk gray skinned, and he was kind of intelligent at night times, and he became like a mob guy in Vegas. But they took some chances. They did things that were interesting. They didn't change his race, for an example, and call that interesting. It's not. And they were, and of course, at the time people were all flipping. But, everything gets reset in terms of that. But when you just make the core character, interesting, you make people want to read them. That's all you need to do. And I feel Marvel and DC are sorely lacking in that department. Even with Spider-Man, with his, unmasking to J. Jonah Jameson, it's like, if part of the whole thing with those two is, it was like the biggest scam. Spider-Man, Peter Parker was selling photographs of himself to Jonah, and Jonah didn't know. And you let Jonah in on the joke, so it's no longer special, it's no longer funny. You took like a very critical element of the relationship. And I understand that, they're now taking the relationship in a different way, but still, the thing that you have to think about is, and this was like I read in an interview with Jim Shooter, there's certain things you don't change. Like there's certain basic fundamentals of every single superhero, that people know. Like Superman Krypton, Peter Parker, lost his Uncle Ben. Like there's just basic things. And you don't change, you don't mess with that, because that is ingrained in everybody's mind and it worked. So don't mess with it. And they keep messing with it. And that's another reason why I think both of these companies are in dire straits. And if you don't, and now I also believe that this isn't the only problem. There's other problems. There's a lot of issues here, because if you look at the industry in general, even though they're saying record numbers are really high numbers in sales. If you look at what's really going on, it's multiple covers, it's lenticular covers, special editions, like a new number one every 6 months type thing, and that's what's driving numbers up. You have Marvel over shipping books and going, oops, I'm sorry, you got 20 copies of America and you only needed 2, send them back. But regardless, those extra issues are counted as a sale. So you have a lot of stuff that's going on here, and a lot of smoke and mirrors, and there's just lots and lots of problems. And it's just a shame because I guess I can't say it's a shame because I put my money towards other things that's more enjoyable now. But it's just I just want better for these characters and for us to read it. Anyways, that is the pull list. We'll have more stuff later. Like, share, and until next time.